presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 and use the promo code WELCOME.
Welcome to Lightyear. Oh, I feel like we're both washed right now. Like, this pod was supposed to be done last week, and I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna be honest about the story here. So, I went on my fantasy football guys trip, and the highlight of that guys trip is, we play 18 holes, and it's part of the calculation we do to determine draft order. My back was already bothering me because I'm washed. Shouldn't have played all 18. Then my back felt like I was in hell. And I'd like to say golf is when I injured my back, but no, it was bending. And I felt some weird, sharp shooting pain all the way down my leg. Like I felt like I was paralyzed for a minute. Worst pain I've felt in God, I don't know, like maybe ever. That put me in a doctor's office, find out that I have herniated disc, pinched nerve, just like all that sort of pain. Just truly, truly old man stuff. And so they give me an anti-inflammatory pill to take. They're like, look, this is going to really kind of help with the pain. You take pills for about a week. The only side effect to it is it's going to weaken your immune system. Whatever. Fine. So, naturally my son gets sent home with what turns out to be a stomach bug. And then I end up catching it. And because my immune system is now weakened, it was 100 times worse than any stomach bug should have been. Just like head over the toilet for 24 hours while my back is in hell. I'm just like lying. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, this is just where, is it time? It's time to hang
over, man.
On life.
It's over.
It's still over for me.
It's over.
This is like, I would laugh at myself so hard 5 years ago if this happening to me.
The real question is who's it more over for, you or the Warriors? Or are they coinciding? Both the downfalls are coinciding at one time.
Can it be over if it's never even begun? Because that's where the I'm going to be honest with you. We're now 50 days into free agency. I did not have schedule drop before the Warriors made a single transaction. At this point, I'm rooting for this thing to go to that October 1st deadline.
That feels more likely than it getting solved in the next couple of weeks, doesn't it? Both sides are playing a game of chicken. And, of course, we get a report that, Joe Lacob sees Kuminga with the Warriors for a long time, according to Ramona Shelburne. But, if that's how you see it, then why are you offering him essentially a 1-year deal? Joe can say whatever he wants or put out whatever message he wants publicly. The actions are speaking louder than the words at this point.
I don't even know, man. It's the whole thing. We'll get into it. We'll get into it later. It's just so, at this point, I have to laugh. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, it's just, you can't look at this and try to sell me that this is completely normal and cool, and this is just a very well-run ship. This is a smart dynasty organization. It's like, no, man, the people who built this thing have all long gone left, except for Steph and Steve and Draymond.
The only guy who deserves an award for these last couple months is Raymond Ritter. Nobody has bet. There's a reason the guy has won the PR Man of the Year 9 times or whatever it is now for the NBA. I feel like almost any other prominent organization who have this happening, we're not talking about like a small market team. We're talking about the big market teams, like if the Lakers or whoever, the Bulls, whoever else. If they have this same issue, then, if the national media messaging would be a lot different. But because it's the Warriors, because Ritter's good at his job, and I guess they've built a lot of goodwill from the 4 championships, you get a different type of messaging from the national media. But it's so tiresome at this point. Like, I don't even expect anything to happen now. Like, I'm half convinced they might just have 9 players going into training camp, and we're going to have to talk about forfeiting games.
Malcolm Brogdon on a camp invite. Let's go.
Oh, God. Can we get a couple more guards reported to come to the Warriors? Gary Payton, Seth Curry, Malcolm Brogdon, Anthony Melton.
GP2's a 4. Stop it.
can't talk about this too much right now. I'm just going to get infuriated. I don't have time for that on this type of day.
It's just like, I'm going to put it to the side because the schedule came out and I want to actually talk about the schedule. But like, it's pretty clear that the most likely way, like I'm going to say 90% chance when training camp opens, Kuminga will be on this roster. And it's just a question of, does he take an offer he doesn't like, or does he actually nuke all of the organization's plans with the qualifying offer? And if he does that, they deserve to get killed because they just destroyed what is not even a great asset anymore into a non-asset. But anyway, that's a different conversation. He'll be there. Apparently Horford and Melton will be there. If they're not there, then I'm just gonna be like, what? And
Horford might just retire at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem very confident that they're getting Horford. They don't have a backup plan if they don't.
No. Do they ever have backup plans? It seems like they push for their chips.
The backup plan is we believe in Guy Santos. We believe in
Alex Davis.
Yeah. And then they'll probably bring back GP2. I don't want to say I don't hate it. I don't actually mind GP2 back as deep depth. When I look at like that as a thing, it's like, okay, you added 3 veterans who I all like, who all can contribute in different ways. I'm very unimpressed with what you did with Kuminga, considering how many times it's been made clear how everyone feels about the situation. Like, you're not firing Steve. Your stars don't really love playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't really popped the way you hoped he would. Just, move on. Anyway,
at least not with any consistency, right? Like, the flashes are there. Like, I think both of us would be ignorant and stupid to say there haven't been flashes, but it's just like the consistency of it all, and that's again, we've gone over this ad nauseum, but that's part of the issue with banking a lot of stuff on 21 and 22-year-olds. There's just not going to be a level of consistency to them, no matter how high the potential is, unless you're like, a Cade Cunningham type. We're talking about future,
but like
10-time All-Stars.
Would Kuminga's consistency even matter if he approached the game with Moody or Pods' professionalism?
That's a good point.
I mean, it would in the sense of, you still don't know if you want a guy that young in like closing lineup situations in a conference finals. But putting that aside, like, most of the Warriors' issues with him have nothing to do with where his skill set's at. It has to do with immaturity.
Yep.
Fair or not, that's what your stars think. That's what your coach thinks. And they tell you it all the time. Like, the most telling thing, everyone wants to be like, it's all Steve Kerr's fault. Steph Curry lets you know exactly what he thinks of him when he pointed to the bench and said, get Guy Santos in here. Because he was trying to close a game and he trusted Guy to have his head locked in. That's really what it is. It has nothing to do with rebound numbers or defensive metrics. It has to do with, is he going to stay engaged to the game plan? Is he going to be engaged every possession? And some games that'll be a bunch of rebounds, and some games it won't. But is he actually in the game, or is he floating if he doesn't have the ball in his hands at all times?
I just find it so funny that the narrative is like, well, you need to give Kuminga runway so he can play hard. It's like, that's not how basketball works at the highest level. It's like, the expectation is that you approach every game like it's not necessarily Game 7 of the finals, but there is a level of intensity and mental commitment that you bring to the game. And people have just constantly made excuses for him not doing that. What? Because his playing time fluctuates? Moody's playing time has fluctuated. I never doubt Moody's effort. I have some issues with the skill set at times. He doesn't make enough shots, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm never questioning whether he's like mentally locked into the game plan. It's just like, he's young and sometimes things don't go right. But I at least know mentally, in terms of like the approach and the effort, he's going to be there. And that's the issue with Kuminga, is just like, it's not. And then people get mad at Steve Kerr or Steph or whoever for like, oh, you need to give him more leeway. No, you don't. The expectation is that Steph plays hard every night, and he's one of the best players in NBA history. We can't expect the same thing from Kuminga. Yeah.
And the reasons he ends up pulled off the court are pretty obvious every time. So it's like, it's not rocket science. Anyway, let's get to the schedule. That was an unnecessary rant off the top here. Breaking news. The Warriors are playing 82 games. Additional breaking news, 41 of them are going to be at the Chase Center.
Incredible
wow.
stuff.
Incredible stuff here. Schedule stuff's always kind of like, I don't know. How much can you really get into it here? When I look at the schedule, 15 back-to-backs, that's more or less what they've had and what most teams have every year. You would have liked to see 12. Not really going to complain about 15. It used to be like 20, 25 when Steph was a younger player. 15, it is what it is. And then I always like to look at like the early part of it. Kind of a rough opening to the season, right?
I believe it's 14 of the first 19 games are on the road, which you can look at that in two ways, right? If they get off to a good start despite a heavy road schedule, and you're like, the expectation is you're going to lose more on the road. So let's say they're 12-7. You can feel pretty good about the next stretch of games, or honestly, in a way, like the rest of the season, because you have such a deficit of home games that you have to make up, that the schedule is going to be pretty friendly at that point. But with the back-to-backs, I do find it funny how it feels like we always get the short end of the stick. And, people say like, well, it's a West Coast thing. West Coast travel is harder, which is true to a certain degree. A lot of the teams are kind of in the Midwest or the eastern part of the United States. But like the Lakers never have like back-to-back disadvantage. Like we have 3 or 4 more back-to-backs than our opponent. Like essentially when we're coming into a back-to-back and the opponent Warriors have 3 or 4 more. It's not the case for the Lakers. It's not the case for the Clippers. I don't think it's the case for Portland. So I always find that odd how they seem to get screwed on this. And with an older team, I do think that matters more than obviously being a team like OKC who has young legs that they can throw out there all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me, they're going to have Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, and theoretically Al Horford on the 65-game plan anyway. So 17 games they don't play. I would consider that a good season if they all played about 65 games, because that means they weren't actually injured. That means that they might have had some nicks here and there and some precautionary rest, but no, like what Draymond had in 2022 with like the disc situation where he had to just sit 35 straight games, right? Mm-hmm. Like 65 games is a great number for these older players. It's enough that they play the full season, but not too many that they're overly tired. When I look at the schedule, I don't really draw any conclusions that really change me anyway there. Actually, now that you mention road heavy off the start, I do think that's an advantage for them. Just because 14 of 19 on the road in January is going to feel a lot worse. Yeah. It sucks no matter what. But when you're going to have your best shot at like stealing them, going to be in November when everyone's super bought in, when Jimmy and Steph are as healthy as they're going to be, when you have a chance to go into a city and you just don't have the dead legs you're going to have in late January there. So doesn't mean that they're going to go 11-3 on the road in those 14 games, but it means they're probably going to win more of those road games than they would if it was later in the season. So you can look at that, a good sign. It does, now that I think about it out loud, it does make me a little concerned about like, can we get everything settled with the roster by Labor Day? Mm-hmm. So guys can, because like if you're dealing with a short camp where guys aren't reported and you don't know your roster, and then you got to start playing games, like you're naturally going to be more likely to give games away early.
100%. It definitely puts a bit more pressure just on the start of the season in general, but like you said, obviously getting the roster figured out. Like, I do have confidence. I've said this before, but I do have confidence that this can still be a really good team, like however the Kuminga situation shakes out, right? But they need to get stuff solved, especially for a system as kind of as intricate as the Warriors is relative to other teams. That training camp stuff matters. Steve was on a podcast recently talking about like the lack of practice that you get now during an NBA season. So it puts a heightened pressure on training camp and that time that you have to install your system and get guys to buy in and get guys to understand. And obviously there's a lot of returners or enough returners, but still like those new guys are going to need some time to gel, some time to figure things out. So it really does. They need to get the stuff figured out by training camp. There's no excuse to not have it figured out within the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, but the flip side would say if they're running back majority of the same guys who know how to play together. I mean, you've heard Steph's statements and clearly they all believe it. They thought the way they ended the season is why they feel so confident about the core going into the season. And I would agree with them. My concerns are more about how they're going to manage older stars' bodies so we can see the best version of them in the playoffs. But that's another time.
That's the argument for Kuminga, right? That's the argument for bringing him back. Anyway, we should pay some bills, huh? Today's episode is brought to you by Square. Tools to make running your business simple, because the right tools make all the difference. For limited time, our listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up at square.com/go/lightyears. Visit today and discover how Square can transform your business. There's a little coffee shop called 602 Cafe right around the corner from me in Huntington Beach, where I live. And they've been using Square for as long as I can remember. Great coffee too, by the way. But Square just makes things really simple. They have the smartest tools that make it easy to use, and they simplify your day-to-day. Take payments, track sales, handle inventory, manage staff, send invoices, keep up with finances, all from one streamlined system. Square keeps up so you don't have to slow down. Get everything you need to run and grow your business without any long-term commitments. And why wait? Right now, once again, you can get $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/lightyears. That's square.com/go/lightyears. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today.
Guys, here to tell you about Factor. Between busy schedules and summer plans, sometimes all I've got is a couple minutes. Factor helps me eat smarter with tasty chef prep meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to my door. And now with more than 65 weekly meals made for you for how I live and what I like to eat, I've got even more ways to fit real meals wherever and take my day. Guys, we're recording this before lunch. I will be heating up a Factor meal right after this because I have a super busy afternoon, guys. And what I like about Factor is the healthy options. They are delicious. You can go with keto, you can go more protein based, you can go more vegetarian, whatever it is you're trying to do, they have tasty, delicious meals to match that diet. From more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say Factor helped them live a healthier life. Guys, eat smart at factormeals.com/lightyears50 off. Use the code lightyears50 off to get 50% off of your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code lightyears50 off at factormeals.com to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for your first year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. All right. Getting back to the schedule real quick. I want to pull it up while we do this. Actually, here's what I want to talk about. The Warriors lead the league in national TV games, tied with the Thunder and the Lakers. Fitting, and the Knicks, to be fair. Lets you know where the league's bread is buttered. The three brands which are drawing the highest numbers, plus the defending champs, the Thunder. The interesting part of this is it's I still haven't got used to it. NBC and Amazon are going to do games this year.
Yeah.
Where's your head at with that? I'm starting to get a little excited.
I love it, man. I'm sure you saw kind of the quick Twitter promo that NBC put out where they kind of did the old school. I really hope that they can kind of change the scope and change the frame of some of the conversation around the league. Look, I like to kind of bash on the modern game as much as anybody, but I do number one, the Thunder have 34 nationally televised games. As much as I kind of despise the team in general, that's a good move by the league. Get kind of the premier young talent on TV as much as possible and get people to kind of buy into the future of the league. But I am incredibly excited for the NBA on NBC. There is so much, especially for people kind of I would say really my age and up, right? Kind of early to mid 30s and up who are old enough to remember NBA on NBC. Once again, we're really harping on the wash thing with this podcast. But watching Steph and LeBron, I'm excited for the intro. How are they going to introduce that storyline?
I mean, Bob Costas is just so much better than
Yeah.
everyone else at delivering that opening monologue, the soliloquy. Like, bring it back. It's cool. I feel like there's energy for it too.
Mhm.
I think everyone is fucking fed up with ESPN's NBA coverage. I'm not trying to be a hater on anyone in specific, but you know what it feels like? It feels like that millennial who's too online. I need to be careful. Who's just scrolling Twitter. It feels like the show is produced by someone who doesn't like basketball, but is scrolling the internet and is like, ooh, look what the kids like. Look what the kids are discussing. Ooh, the kids are debating Kyrie versus CP3. Let's get Perk and Richard Jefferson's opinions on this. Let's do this TikTok dance. Like that's what it feels like. And I'm just like, bro, just let that stuff live in its own lane. Elevate the conversation. Have fun with it. Make it feel important. That's like the other part. Nobody makes you feel like you're watching the most important thing on earth, like Bob Costas. I'm not even an Olympics guy, but he gets me into the Olympics every time because the storytelling, the narrative, and next thing you know, I'm like locked in to, the 3,200 meter race, or it's like, this guy from Sub-Sahara, he had just such a hard childhood. I need to see him win the gold. I need to see it now, and it's like, would I have thought about that if not for that story? Obviously not. There's sports going on across the globe that I don't pay attention to. All of it's about bringing it to your attention.
That's what NBC excels at. They've always kind of, for whatever reason, whoever, runs their production or whatever you want to pinpoint as the reason why, they've always excelled at that. It's why they do such a good job with the Olympics. But even if you look at the NFL, how much more important does the Sunday night game feel than the Monday night game on ESPN? The way it's presented.
Dude, isn't that what?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were like kids? I remember Monday Night Football being a big deal. I remember my dad planning Monday when I was like, I don't know, like 7 years old. He would take me to this pizza place. I didn't realize it till I was older. We'd just go there to drink with his friends. But like they had an arcade, which, like, you're 7. Perfect. Nothing is cooler than playing Street Fighter on an arcade. And it was always for the Monday Night Football game. And it was a big deal. And if the Niners played, it was 100 times a bigger deal. That was the entire thing. Now I just don't even care who plays on Monday night.
Yeah, it's almost like it feels like a throwaway game a lot of the time, unless it's like too big. If you get like Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, but like then the game carries itself, right? Because you're interested in the players, you're interested in. Like,
you'd have been into it if it was the 1 p.m. on Sunday. Either way, yeah,
right, exactly. It doesn't really matter what time slot that falls in, but Sunday there just is a certain amount of importance to Sunday night football, and I think most of that is attributable to the job that NBC does of telling the story. And that's what really the NBA has been missing. That's why, I think MJ's the GOAT for like on the court reasons. Like I can make the basketball argument for that, but a lot of the mythologizing, like it falls back on those NBA on NBC and like even the way that CBS presented the games back in the 80s and early 90s. Like a lot of it does come back to that. Whereas like the guys today, they haven't received that same coverage. Like, do you think Steph or LeBron or KD is getting beat up the same way by NBC as they have by ESPN for the last 15 to 20 years? There's not a shot in hell. We think of these guys as like mythical figures if NBC had been the main media partner for the NBA over the last 20 years or so. So I'm incredibly excited for it. And the NBA knows exactly what they're doing. They're giving us Steph and LeBron on that NBA on NBC first night of the season game. And I literally could not be more excited for how they're going to present this and like the storylines that they are going to build going into that game, the pregame for it. I'm excited for it all. I literally cannot wait.
Yeah. And then like Amazon, total wild card. I don't even know. Like, I think their Thursday Night Football stuff has been mostly good. I just think Thursday Night Football is the worst product because of the short week and all that sort of stuff. But like, I think they've done generally a good job at kind of not just following the formula, but like adding their own spin to it, trying to bring some new elements to it. And I'm curious to see what they do with the NBA, honestly. Like the NBA, the NBA national coverage more than anything, because they could both flop. I would not be shocked if NBC did not live up to the hype and it was kind of disappointing to all of us because we all have childhood memories based upon those NBC games. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me, right? And who knows with Amazon, but I think the one thing we can all agree on is like nationally, the NBA needs such a reset media-wise, and just getting new voices in there, new producers, just a new idea. It might not be the right one, but I know doing the same thing you did last year is just going to suck anyway.
Right. We know what that is. Like we know what that coverage looks like, and it's just, it feels so just like tired and stale and overwrought at this point. Who are you most except? First of all, we got to hit on this real quick. I just mentioned MJ. What do you think his special contributor thing is going to be like? I feel like it's just going to be pre-recorded segments, but I'm excited to hear his takes regardless.
So what I saw was, and nobody knows for sure, or I mean, obviously somebody knows, but it's not been publicly reported. I don't know how often he's going to be on there.
Yeah.
Special contributor feels to me like he'll be on there half dozen times a season. And maybe it's more than that. I would like to see him more. I also just have a hard time knowing about how much he values his private life and, likes to stay out of it. I just can't see him signing up to be Charles Barkley like twice a week, every week. Like, I just don't think he cares to do that. So that's what I think special contributor means. That just means when he's on, but he's not. Do not expect to see Mike every Friday.
Yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance he's going to be on more than once every other week, at most.
Do you think he's going to be honest, or do you think he's going to do that great player thing where he says nothing and we're kind of like, it's MJ, so you're just excited to see him, but then you think about it, you're like, he didn't say shit.
I mean, I think it can work either way, but what I would say is, are they allowing him to drink tequila before he records his features? If they allow him to drink, I think he's going to be as honest as possible. If they don't, then we might get kind of the more milquetoast kind of just like right down the middle stuff.
They're all great players. Yeah. They're all great players, that sort of thing. Yeah. I will say, I think Amazon Studio sounds better on paper. You never know how these things turn out. I'm just pulling up the names right now. Prime is going to have Taylor Rooks, excellent choice, Blake Griffin, and Dirk Nowitzki as kind of the main
panel, the
main people.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to have more contributors. I think D-Wade's NBC. Sorry, they're going to have more, but those are going to be the main ones there. Blake is just fucking hilarious every time he does a podcast. So it's not a 1-for-1 media thing, but he's one of those guys where it's like, I would be surprised if he's not a natural at this. I mean, he does stand-up comedy. He's comfortable with it. Yeah. Dirk, I kind of like the inclusion of Dirk, like just the accents. I don't know. He should be good. He's also been interesting. So I feel pretty good about
Dirk's a sneaky funny guy.
Yeah. NBC, they haven't announced as much, but it's Maria Taylor will host it.
She's good.
She is good. Mello, Vince Carter, and T-Mac.
Yep, and
with
then Austin Rivers as well, it looks like.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, and Brian Scalabrine, apparently. I'm looking at it right now on I got to pull it up on Wikipedia. Who knows how accurate that is, Wikipedia, but
it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
No, it is accurate. I was going to say, I actually like Mello. I think Mello is really good on a panel. If it's the right panel and you let him be himself, like he's thoughtful. He's fun. He's honest. He's not afraid to tell you what he thinks. He's like one of the 5 best scorers of all time, just like a pure scorer. And he thinks about the game very much like a scorer. And that's like a fun perspective to have, right? Like, I think actually what's best on studio shows is if you get guys who A, have outgoing personalities, but B, have different perspectives on the way they see the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have, like the thing I was like, do I really want Mello and T-Mac together? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
I do
Whereas
think that,
Melo and Austin Rivers kind of into it because Austin
right,
Rivers, Rivers kind of into it because Austin
right.
Rivers, a role player, sees the game differently. Just as they're gonna naturally bring completely different perspectives to the NBA.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with Melo is like you said, he is one of the best like pure scorers ever. But I think
Mhm.
he's
Best
from what
one and
I've
done
heard from
freshman
him.
ever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But I think the thing about Melo is he doesn't have like almost like delusions of grandeur about who he was as a player. You know what I mean? Like a lot of like the best
Yeah, he's
players.
pretty comfortable. He's pretty comfortable in his own skin in terms of what he accomplished and what he didn't.
Yeah, he doesn't have insecurities about it. And like that's one of the things that's made like Barkley so endearing over the past 20 years is like obviously everybody knows how great he was, but he didn't win a championship. And like but he's able to take those jokes constantly and he doesn't get in his feelings about it. You know what I mean? Like he's willing to just have fun with it because again, he's kind of just secure.
Yeah, maybe that's my whole thing. That's kind of what I don't want from T Mac. I find him one of the most salty ex players.
By far.
Just constantly, I would have won rings if I had Shaq. I would have done this. It's just like, all right, honestly, probably true. If your career played out differently, you might have had different success. But like, what are we doing here? You know,
everybody knows how great you were, man.
It's been 25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
My hot take on that is I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, he would have won a title with Shaq. There's zero chance they would have three-peated.
I agree. I think whatever year they were super dominant, they probably win, especially because Shaq was just so good. But this is the unquantifiable stuff about sports. Like, there was a different mentality from Kobe. Despite the fact that T-Mac might have been more talented, there was just something different about Kobe that was like, a will to win that not many people have had in the history of the NBA.
Well, and just like consistently, like everyone who's listening to this show has followed the Warriors' dynastic run. They were like, repeating is hard. Continually doing it every year is hard. Once you've won one, it's easier to fall back and be like, well, this isn't my year. That sort of thing, right? Like it's easier to climb. I don't want to say it's easier, but like it's easier to maintain your motivation when you're climbing as opposed to trying to maintain.
Yep.
So that's kind of the part there. I don't know. We'll see how he turns out. I'm excited to see both of them. I think I'm reiterating my point from earlier. It's just time for new voices. Excited to see. Some of them will flop. Some of them will be great. But, at least not the same old.
I think we got to do this before we move off the NBA on NBC thing. Quick shout out to our friend of the program, Grant Liffman, who's also going to be doing some sideline stuff for NBC. So I had to throw that in there before we move on.
I mean, someone got to get the Lakers message out there. Love you, Grant. Love you, bro. Love you, buddy. Nah, just kidding. Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I'm just ready for new here as we watch Steph versus LeBron part 5,000.
I can't wait.
But you know what? I'll never get sick of that either. I actually look forward to them more now than I did in the past because I don't think this is the last year. I can't imagine LeBron retiring without like a 16-month retirement tour, but it could be. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're reaching that point where like you just don't know how many more there are.
Yeah, I mean there was the big don't take LeBron James for granted thing. Like that was huge on social media a couple years ago. But like and it's not just him specifically, but like we don't know how many of these matchups we have left. Probably less than 10. And this is maybe the greatest rivalry in the history of the league since the 80s, just in terms of like a player-specific rivalry like the league had with Bird and Magic. There hasn't been anything like Steph and LeBron. There just hasn't. And so, yeah, I'm going to cherish every single moment I have of this. I'm going to try to get to one of the Lakers-Warriors games this year. I don't know if the scheduling will work, but if I can make that happen, I need to see them play in person at least one last time.
It's going to cost you a pretty penny, buddy.
Believe me, I know that. I got to start budgeting for that right now. It's going to be like $1,000 to get in the door.
Jesus. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, I'm no longer sick. Tommy is no longer in the desert being the final boss of Ibiza.
I'll share some of my fits on Twitter for the people so they can witness everything, at least little parts of what happened this weekend.
Were you dressed like that guy?
Not quite, but there was a day where I was rocking a wife beater, yes, and swim trunks that are probably about 3 inches too short, and a headband, and the people will see. they'll get a little recap of what happened over the weekend pretty shortly here.
Yeah, this is Tommy right here. All business.
I love this guy so much.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Just an outrageous haircut beyond the age of 5 years old.
It would be funny without the haircut, but the haircut makes it so much better. All right. See y'all later.